Hello, everyone. Okay, so I underestimated how long it would take my hair to dry. It's still kind of wet, but I have on my pearls today, at least for now, until it inevitably starts to give me a headache, because my head hurts all the time. Should be like a t-shirt, to be honest. I should have merch that says my head hurts. Anyway, don't judge me. Listen, I didn't have time to make food. I was preparing the stream and waiting for my hair to dry, which includes blow drying it. So I didn't have time to actually cook dinner, so I'm eating mac and cheese, one of the only brands that doesn't have corn in it. So don't say anything. Okay, I have to eat or I will get a headache. So there's a lot of people here waiting for the stream to start, though. Thank you guys for coming to my stream today. We will be going over the things that I didn't get to mention in the video, some of which are pretty important, that I honestly wish that I got to include in the video, but this will have to do because I'm not going to sit here and make a third video right at this moment. I don't want my entire channel to be about Pearl. Hopefully you guys can't hear me chewing. Anyway. Welcome to the new subs that are here today. So, where do we start? Let's start here. How Pearl cannot stop lying. Okay? She just cannot stop. She cannot refrain. She actually addressed my video last night, or me rather, on the Whatever podcast. I'm pulling up the timestamp right now. It's hard to scroll through it because I have a really fast mouse, and the Whatever podcast is like 5 hours long. So I'm like struggling to move my mouse. Anyway, here it is. Okay. And as per usual, you guys can donate at brittanyventi.com. if you would like to have your message pop up on screen, because King of the Chat is currently up for grabs. I guess I'll go here in front of her boobs. Okay.
I like black or white is fine. She doesn't discriminate.
Okay.
What do you like normally go for? Like, what do you usually find yourself up with, like ending up with? Because you might not have a type, but like you can end up with certain people.
I mean, black or white. Like that's yeah.
Okay. All right. By the way, Pearl, why are you in a beef with everyone right now on the internet?
Well,
Give us the little rundown.
who are you asking about?
Well, I think Brittany Venti did a hit piece on you. I think Auburn Preach are beefing with you. Rolo's beefing with you.
Rolo, yeah. So Brittany Venti, I don't know who she is, to be honest. So she just, she's obsessed with me, I think, because she's just she's just always
Really?
on my stuff.
Yeah, I don't have anything negative to say about any of these people.
Interesting. She doesn't know who I am, she says, right? But she can subscribe to my boyfriend's channel, right? No idea who I am. Okay, let's give her plausible deniability. Maybe she just liked my boyfriend's content, even though she just shot on commentary channel saying that they're all bad and they're all fake news. Okay, then how do you explain this exactly? This is a comment Pearl left under Abba and Preach's video where they reacted to my video on Pearl, the first one. She is literally the pinned comment. And this is from 10 days ago. The Whatever podcast was from last night. Like 24 hours ago. This is 10 days ago. She clearly saw the video. She at least saw Abin Preach's take on it. She watched the video. She commented under the video. So why is she lying? She said, if you're going to attack me, fine. But putting in someone who didn't ask to be a part of this is low class and wrong. My ex is one of the first people I saw affected by the court system in the US, so this narrative that you're painting that he is a bum or mooched off of me is not true. fake news reaction channels don't care about what's true, and they have no integrity when it comes to lying about people not in the manosphere space and pushing whatever narrative they want to push. Notice how she does not address a single point. She does not address a single criticism made about her. She will only argue with people who are brain damaged, like herself, because it makes her look smart. That's why she doesn't address any of the points I've been preached say. She doesn't address any of the points that I say, at the very least. Maybe she addressed like 1 or 2 things I've been preached did in her reaction video or said, but they weren't very strong points, apparently. And Abba Preach responded to her saying, putting someone in, huh? Your ex is an incredibly famous public figure who disavowed you dozens of times publicly and critiqued you in his own videos. Like, isn't that pathetic too? Like, she's like trying to she's trying to save her own ass, but she's doing it under the guise of like, no, I'm helping this guy because like I care about men so much that I'm going to self-sacrifice. But no, actually it's just to cover her own ass. And meanwhile, her ex is throwing her under the bus, as we saw in the video I just released, the second one. So it's like, you're out here caping for your ex, but he's just like, she was not like this, like, disavow, I don't want to be associated with her. And they go on to say, he disavowed her publicly dozens of times and critiqued her in his own videos. He inserted himself into everything, so your point is moot. Also, we didn't bring him up, Brittany did, we just laughed. So basically, it's fair game. He's a public figure, I agree. Number 2, it's relevant because she is supposed to be giving dating advice and telling everyone dating standards and what to expect and how women and men should act, and how men are just being punished by these cruel hoes out here, okay? And who are just demonic. And you can't talk about her dating life when she's gonna push that narrative and give dating advice and say this is how dating should be, and she has no experience. She has nothing on her resume. She has no life experience to back it up. She herself, as I pointed out in both videos, which also applies to Fresh and Fit, by the way, about how she went to the therapist, and why would she go to a therapist if the therapist herself isn't married? She doesn't know how to maintain a relationship. I'm just quoting Pearl there. So why would we listen to Pearl or Fresh and Fit? None of them seem to really promote healthy relationships or maintain them for the most part, at least for Myron and Pearl, I can say, based on my research. Atomic Nightlight, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. I have a crush on Brett Cooper. Good for you. Thank you for the $5, $4.99. Professional Sports Enterprise, $5 super chat. Great content. I deal with animals, and I'm trying to see which animal Pearl reminds me of. A naked mole rat comes to mind. Like, honestly, I didn't even mean to just say that out loud. I just, like, immediately thought of it. But I always say, like, Pearl from SpongeBob because of the personality overlap a little bit. Though Pearl from SpongeBob is a little more, like, bimbo power. Anyway, chat can answer what animal they think Pearl. Everyone looks like an animal, okay? It just happens to be that hers can be a naked mole rat. And I really think it has to do with the way she presents herself, guys. She doesn't have to present the way that she does. She chooses to present that way physically. It's not even her features. Like, they can be worked with, but she just refuses to. She refuses to style herself correctly and to actually get people who know what they're talking about. Because you can say, okay, I'll put it like this. So if you were obese, right, and you were trying to lose weight, and you're like, I'm trying, but like all you are really doing is, I don't know, like cutting 50 calories out a day, like eating one less candy, nobody's going to be like, oh, poor baby, you're trying. They're going to be like, you're not taking the correct action to actually move toward that goal. Pearl's not taking the correct actions to move toward the goal of like being presentable. $5 super chat from Media Fanatic. Pearl is going to end up doing her face and hair when the views get low enough. I saw she quote tweeted on Twitter, like she quote tweeted my friend Sam and other people who are using the face app to give her a makeover, and she was like, ha ha ha, it's so funny. I'm like, you don't have to pretend it's like that you're in love with this, that people are trying to make you more attractive. You could just like make yourself look more attractive. And I say this because she clearly wants a husband. She's clearly giving women advice on how to get a husband, how to be presentable. So it's a bit hypocritical. All right, 2. What I've been saying. You literally co-signed Sneeko mocking Penguin Zero critical girlfriend because he had her in a single picture on his Instagram. You can't make this shit up. Number 3, nobody cares about your dating history. They just care that you are a raging hypocrite. You routinely shame women for not being married by the suitable age of 27 for choosing men of poor quality. You also say you wouldn't take advice from unmarried women, but you yourself say you can't find a man. 4, well, ma'am, you're an average at best at 26 years old with the dating history that looks like a homeless person's criminal record. Pick better. 5, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So that was Abba and Preacher's response to her. I don't know if they'll react to the second video I made or anything like that. But it was interesting to see this after she claimed to not know who I was. Meanwhile, she's raging under the comments that we dared to talk about her dating life with a public figure as a dating expert who runs an entire podcast, having panels of people on talking about relationships and saying what women should and shouldn't do and what men deserve and what women don't deserve. Bruce for a $5 super chat. It's just an insult to therapists to say they're single old women. She's absolutely absurd. Most therapists I've met are married. She clearly needs more therapy, by the way, and we're going to see that later on in the stream. Atomic Nightlight $4.99. Are you okay? You keep burping. Yeah, it's because I'm eating. When I eat, that happens. So I have to eat. Like, I actually don't mind fasting. I used to do it all the time, but I just get migraines if I do now. So I'm kind of forced to, like, snack throughout the day, even if I can't make something, which is hard when you have a corn allergy, because everything in America has corn in it. Unless it's, like, a raw nut or something. Spectral Citizen, thank you for being a subscriber for 60 months. Pin the dono link. Oh, yeah. I forgot. Thank you. Here you guys go. You guys can donate at the link. It'll show up on screen, too. It's just YouTube takes less of a cut from the donation link. Here you go. Cool. Squeegee Kid $4.99 super chat. According to Just Pearly thinks she has NBA players, yes, with an S, in her DMs. Okay. She's setting herself up to get the worst man imaginable. So even if she gets one, it's probably not going to be good news for her. Corey Ordway $1.99 super chat. Don't stop burping. Oh my god. I mean, I don't want to sit here and have to mute the mic every time. It's not cringy enough for me to have to mute the mic 20 times a stream. Anyway. I will continue to read the super chats throughout the stream. But anyway. So that was part 1 of the response to her saying, I don't know who Brittany is. It's like, shut the fuck up, you liar. How are you just gonna lie out in the open like that? In front of everyone. Like, literally everyone, thousands of people just saw you lie. And then at the same time, she's like, but she's obsessed with me. It's like, those two things it'd be kind of hard for them to be true. That you have no idea who someone is, but then also they're obsessed with you. I'm just going through the logic of it. I'm not saying that, like, oh my god, I'm so famous that everyone should know me. But it's like, don't just flat out lie. You've been caught lying so many times at this point. You're just making your grave deeper, digging it way deeper. And yeah, like I said, she doesn't address criticism. She just calls everyone fake news. She doesn't actually address it at all. And it's interesting that in her comment in response to my video and Abba and Preach reacting to my video, she's going on saying that commentary channels are just all fake news. And yes, she actually did say all at several points on her Twitter. If you guys saw the video, I'm sure you know. And she's saying fake news reaction channels, right? Well, that's interesting that someone like her would say that, considering, as we saw in the first video, she does nothing but spout incorrect statistics, at least from what I've seen of her content. I've watched a lot of it at this point for research purposes, you know, against my will. But she constantly regurgitates stats that are just wrong because she seems to not critically think about things or double check her work or know how to cite sources on a basic level. Honestly, guys, she's way more college educated than I am. I didn't go to college, and I can look through sources apparently more efficiently than Pearl can and get it more correct, so to speak. Like, how is that the case? She comes from this wealthy family, okay? She comes from like a mansion with her 10 siblings, okay? Multi-millionaire family, but went to college, but she doesn't know how to do something that's a requirement for her job, like a basic requirement. If you're going to debate people and give statistics, you have to know the bare minimum of what the statistic is actually saying, not misinterpreting it in bad faith at that. She's doing it in bad faith, as we saw in the first video. Even when she gets corrected, she keeps saying it. She doesn't care. She doesn't care that she's lying because it makes her get more attention. And number two, she doesn't know how to. So it's like you're in bad faith and you don't know how to. And she continues to do it. It's not like she's, at least from what I'm seeing, she hasn't been really improving on it. Maybe it hasn't been enough time passed, but look at this one. Here's another one. Just found this on TikTok the other day.
About 45% of women will be single and childless by 20.
Well, if it isn't Hannah Davis, the final boss of all the fucking grifters. This lady claims to be all about facts and data, except for the fact that she doesn't know how to read fucking facts and data. This is what the study she is referencing actually says. Based on Census Bureau historical data, it is a Morgan Stanley forecast, are predicting that 45% of prime working age women between the ages of 25 to 44 are going to be single by 2030. That's the largest share in history, up from 41% in 2018. Now, some of you dumb motherfuckers are gonna say, isn't that what she just said? No, it fucking isn't. There's a handful of grifter jackwagons presenting the study this way. Pearl is claiming this, that in 2030, 45% of women were single between the ages of 25 to 44 per 2014 census data are likely to still be single in 2030. That is literally not what the study says.
Just for quick context, this girl, I've seen her on TikTok before. She specializes in dating data. So she goes over the technical terms, like what is a talking stage, what is a relationship. She goes over statistics. She does it in a very analytical way. She does presentations like this all the time. So that's why she's like annoyed by it, because she does this on TikTok. I don't know for a living, but it's mainly what her TikTok is.
And a fucking idiotic interpretation of the data. This is what it says. Back in 2018, 41% of women between the ages of 25 to 44 per census data from that year were legally single, aka unmarried. If you are not married, in the eyes of the law, you are legally single. That's what this means. That 40% is referring to women between the ages of 25 to 44 at the time of that 2018 census. Now, based on population growth and trends, Morgan Stanley is predicting that in 2030, or by 2030, there's going to be 45% of women between the ages of 25 to 44 per census data that are going to be legally single, aka unmarried. It's going to be.
And it's interesting because a lot of people don't seem to want to get married anymore, even if they do find the right person. I gotta put Spooky down. There's food up here. But, hey. My camera's being racist. What the fuck? Okay, there we go. Yeah, a lot of people don't believe in government marriage anymore. So that definitely skews the statistic, the culture about that. And what she said already was factoring in the age ranges, and also legally married, not just like in a relationship or not.
Up to here, 45% from 41%. This 45% references the women who are between the ages of 25 to 44 at the time of the 2030 census. These are two different crops of women. Overall, this is only showing a 4% increase in single women over the course of 11 years. This does not measure the group of women between ages 25 to 44 who were single at the time of the 2018 census. Women ages 33 and up in that 2018 data would not be included in the 2030 stats. They're going to be over 44 by the time of the 2030 census. Now, some of you are going to say that's still an
Basic math. Again, Pearl has a multimillionaire family who paid for her college. Okay? She has no excuse to be misinterpreting data like this on a regular basis. This isn't a one-time thing, oopsie, and oh, it was in good faith. It's not in good faith, as we've seen with her statistics about obesity. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Fight or fight, Darwin's Shelf. I appreciate your work and effort to expose these women. Please continue. The reason I'm doing it is because I don't like the bad influencing it's having on everyone in dating, and it's making everyone it's taking the humanity way of interacting with one another, even outside of dating, even in terms of men and women being able to interact on a friendship level, on an acquaintance level. And I think it's very destructive. I think a lot of the things Pearl teaches are very destructive. So that's why I'm doing it. I feel like it's necessary and it has to be done. BM, thank you for being a member for 23 months. That was a quiet one. That was a good vid, Britt. Keep it up. Proud of you. Thank you. See, every time I take a bite, it's making me burp. Squeegee Kid 499 super chat. I liked Pearl more when she was playing the character Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Thanks for exposing the fraud that is just Pearly Things. And okay, you know what's crazy to me? What's crazy to me is that even after this video, and I know it's going to continue because I've already seen it since the video came out. Maybe the people didn't see the video, of course, but I just have a feeling that people will continue to engage with her and platform her as if she's in good faith and as if she's not out here copy striking people, trying to take away their livelihoods and trying to censor people for criticizing her like she did with Sarah Garvey. And regardless of what people may have in their personal opinion about these various YouTubers, it's still not right for her to try to censor Sarah Garvey from her personal bias. When she had him keep all these videos up when they were working together, but then when he said, hey, she tried to give me a bad deal, like this is like very suspect, she's suddenly like, oh, I'm gonna copy strike your channel, I'm gonna bully you, and then cry bully when everyone criticizes me for it. So that's what she's doing. It's like her retort to any criticism is, you're obsessed. And that's a common fallacy I see a lot of people do. And there are cases where people are obsessed and will go on and on and on for like several months nonstop and they don't do anything else. Yes, I have seen that online, but in this case, it does not fall under that. I gave pretty valid and fair criticisms. I did a lot of research into this. So for her to just dust this under the rug, like, no, she's just obsessed. It's like the you're just jealous fallacy. When you're a woman, you criticize another woman and someone will say, oh, you're just jealous, because they can't actually conceptualize that you would criticize someone with critical thinking and not just because you're jealous of something that they have or how they look. Like as if that's all I would care about. And yeah, I just think that times have changed, because back in the day, if you were to copy strike someone, it was a big deal, especially if you're a big YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. I mean, yeah, her channel is kind of dead in the views in terms of her videos, right? We went over that in the second video, but even so, she has over 1 million subscribers, if we're speaking, assuming the best, and assuming they're not bots or something, right? And I point that out because of her view count being so low consistently relative to her channel number. But she's out here copy striking people. It's not like, oh, this is just a small disagreement, okay? We just disagree on something, okay? No, she's out here trying to ruin people's careers. She could copy strike me. Okay, she comes from a multi-millionaire family. She is abusing her power. Especially as a bigger channel. Back in the day, this would not fly. People would not be out here like, you know what, Pearl says a thing or two I don't like, but she says a thing or two I do like. They'd be like, no, fuck that bitch. She's copy striking people. She's literally the same thing as feminists. She's doing the same tactic as a woke feminist. When I say feminist, I'm specifically speaking about like the crazy, very woke feminist. That's what I'm specifically talking about. She's using those woke tactics. And it's like, no, it's fine because she says that women can't vote, so it's actually fine. It's like, what the fuck? And she's essentially setting people up to be abused. And it's interesting the overlap. Now, I'm not saying that she's like abusing someone by doing this. It's an abuse of the copyright system, but she is bullying. But it's parallel to the clip that went viral recently that she commented on, and she was saying that basically muddying the waters about abuse, like, oh, is it, but women like say a lot of things are abuse, so actually, like, is it really that bad? Like, that's kind of always the tone she takes. She's basically like, woman says something, her response, but like, how is that actually true? Because I saw a woman one time lie. So like, how do we even know if that's true? How do we even know if lying, if abuse is true? How do we even know that women don't lie? Like that, like you could literally create a bot to tweet for Pearl. They're very formatted. And it's interesting that overlap between her abusing the copyright system, not caring about silencing. She basically will silence people because she doesn't care, right? She's abusing her power. And it's interesting that she will go and make these tweets. Instead of saying abuse is bad, she'll go and make these tweets trying to somehow muddy the waters about what abuse is and somehow trying to justify it in a very like, oh, but I didn't say that kind of way. And I'll pull that up in a second. But there's an example that I wanted to talk about in terms of her abusing her power, actually. That's very important, so I'm going to bring it up right now. So, basically, I found this out from Mike TV. He had pulled up a clip.
For y'all, wouldn't y'all love it
right
if I got Esther on the platform?
So this woman was on Pearl's podcast a few times, and Pearl basically went and lied about the whole situation of this woman stalking her, and it resulted in her bodyguard getting fired by Pearl because Pearl felt she was in danger. Okay, and we're gonna take a look at that now. So I'm gonna pull up the original.
Obviously, we spoke about her kicking me out of her podcast, wanting to be the power queen. So I now go downstairs. I go to the reception area. I meet her concierge. He asked me like what it is, because obviously you can see that I'm a bit rattled. And he asked me like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And I explained everything to him. He comprehended the situation, and he was quite like annoyed for me. Like, whoa, like, how can someone invite you to a podcast to kick you out? And he actually said a lot of people have come out feeling that way. So this is not the first time.
So she's just giving the premise. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Thank you, Dev Copper, for the $4.99 super chat. And Dash for the $5 super chat. Have you ever thought about doing educational or informative content versus gossip? Not even trolling. Every time you burp, I buh. Yeah, this is not the only content that I want to do. It's just what I've recently done. I have a few videos lined up that I wanted to do, actually. $10 turns the squid. Pearl said last night her ideal man was far right, who believes women shouldn't vote or on whatever. Yeah, I saw that. She's setting herself up to be in bad relationships and OF in the future if she actually believes that. She absolutely is setting up people to be in terrible relationships. That's why we're talking about this. And I'll get more into that in a bit. I just have to show this first. And Tia Cooper, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Okay, I think that's all of them. The Quentin Experiment, $10. Hi, Brittany. I discovered your channel a few days ago, but I'm already hooked. Thanks for the quality content. Thank you. Justin, $10. You need to go to college, Brittany. I'm sure you'll be a great academic. College is expensive. Are you guys going to pay for that? Just ignore the woke stuff in the weird Republican clubs. You'll be good. I think it's too late for me. Unless I've suddenly got divine inspiration to do something that requires a college degree. Lucan, $2 Canadian. Maybe Pearl just needs to wash her ass. Oh my god. Alright, I'll catch up on the rest of them in a bit.
relaxing now. Before then, when I was chatting with the concierge, he let me charge my phone, innit? So
Okay, let me rewind it a little bit. Sorry about that.
and I was meant to be driving home. I was like, I can't drive right now. And I asked, is it okay if I just stay in the lobby for a bit? And he was like, oh yeah, of course. Because he didn't want me driving in that state as well, because I'm annoyed. I'm very relaxing now. Before then, when I was chatting with the concierge, he let me charge my phone, innit? So I then realised I left my charger there. So obviously I blocked Pearl, innit? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go and pick up my charger. And this was like a couple days after. Do you know what?
So she told the bodyguard at Pearl's place where she has her podcast to charge her phone, and she forgot her charger.
To give context to this, because a lot of people, they see it as I just showed up to Pearl's house, right? Pearl records in her apartment, which I don't understand why you would do that. And the building she lives in, it's not a conventional block of flats. It's a flat that has a concierge, a reception. That area is a public area. For you to go to the private area where people live, you need a code. So me going to pick up my charger in the public area, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
it's a reception. It's open to the public. Like anyone can come there. So it was just like, that was the context of it. Me and the concierge just talking, just like a little quick chat.
Quick little translation. Flat equals apartment. Thank you, Dan.
Professional. And Pearl comes downstairs now. She's like, oh, Esther, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I'm just speaking to the concierge, because at this point, that's all we're doing for me to then leave. And then she was like, are you stalking me?
Oh.
I was like, what? So obviously, she says, are you stalking me? I'm like, no, I'm not stalking you. I'm just talking to the security. And the security was like, oh yeah, she's with me. Don't worry, you're calm. Like, everything's safe. You're good. Yeah. She goes upstairs now, calls down with the security, and she's like, oh, Esther shouldn't be here. Why is she here? He's confused, because he's like, wait, why? There's not been any complaints made about Esther. You've not said anything about Esther. So he was like, oh, no, she's fine. Like, she's just with me. Like, basically, not even he's confused. Like, why is this girl wanting me to kick her out? But as soon...
So, basically, Pearl's coming across as a Karen here.
As she starts talking like that, I was like, listen, I'm going to leave because I don't want to get you in trouble. So I leave now. And that was it. The next day, I've now seen a video on her YouTube saying, crazy lady is stalking me.
Oh my God.
So she starts this whole story talking about how she was scared and she's frazzled. And now I need to play the video.
Okay. I read a strongly worded email.
Of course.
I'm just going to read you a little excerpt from it. But
A strongly worded email. Sounds very Karen-esque.
I cannot have my concierge being friends with the crazy lady. Like, you need to do that on your own time. You're working. Today, I went downstairs to let my dog out, and I saw Esther, the guest there, the same person who was stalking me. I informed the security guard that she needed to be removed from the building because she was stalking me.
In what capacity have you ever stalked her? You went on her podcast 3 times out of her invitation, and then you left her podcast. Where has she got this stalking me? You blocked her on socials. Where has she got that you're stalking her?
She's like, don't flatter yourself, Pearl.
Instead of having the stalker removed, he took the stalker's side. He then informed me that it is his opinion that she was not a stalker. I am a single woman, and I am in fear of my life. Yet security failed to remove the stalker from me.
She said,
I am a single woman. I am a single white woman, and we cannot have these kinds of people here. That's how Pearl sounds right now.
she's a single woman and in fear of her life. But then she has issues that women in the park, walking in the dark.
Did she say that to you? That you were me tooing
I was me tooing men, because I said that men who have an ability to harass or stalk or attack women, we have laws to protect them in the UK and the US. But she's saying that I was me tooing men. She's now saying she's a single woman in fear. What does she say about men? I wonder.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I'm pretty sure through my research, I've heard Pearl speak on that topic about how it's kind of dumb that women are fearing for their lives when they go home at 2 a.m. in London. And it's like, I was in New York, and it's the same deal. Yeah, you want to watch your back at 2 a.m. Something's probably going to happen, honestly. I've never been to London, but I get the impression it's the same kind of environment where it's just very chaotic. So when it's Pearl, it's like, oh my God, I'm a single woman. Something bad's going to happen to me. Someone help. But if it's another woman airing their grievances at all about any men at all, even if it's a legitimate, like a hypothetical man, it's like, yeah, a man could hypothetically do something to you, and that's something that does happen at 2 a.m. when you're walking home. She's like, no, you're just me tooing. It's like, okay, then what is she doing here?
Happened. She done her little video. I now contact the concierge just to see how he is, if he's okay, and obviously tells me he's been fired.
Jesus Christ.
That's actually so sad. So Pearl got a man to come out of his job because of her emotional behavior that was unwarranted and delusional.
I think the crazy thing is, she says, oh, women, we are the problem for men, modern women, they are always making up stories to basically put down men, right? And that's exactly what she's done. And
yeah, so how is her channel about helping men, right? She's supposed to be for men's rights somehow, but she's over here getting a black guy fired. Meanwhile, her panel is predominantly black. If you look at all the panels, most of the time it is black people, or at least black with a little bit of mixture. The smaller percent will be other races, like what it looks to be Hispanic and white on occasion. But for the most part, she is having on people that are black. She's having staff that are black. Almost all of her staff, from what I've seen, are black. Right? And then she's going to be like, yeah, and I'm for the men's rights. And yet she got a black guy fired because he didn't like that she didn't like that he let her charge her phone and get her charger. That was enough for her to do that. So imagine what Pearl has done to other people that we don't even know about if she did this. Like, this is just one story that someone happened to catch a whiff of, right? So imagine how she is to work with. Imagine how she is to other people. And we already know how she is to work with. Look how she treated this guy. Look how she treated Sarah Garvey. Again, we don't know the full story, right? But from what we do see, from the details we do have, it's looking pretty bad. It's looking like she has no empathy, and it's only okay to be a victim when it's Pearl. It's only bad things can happen to Pearl. Otherwise, you're just a crazy feminist, even though she's the one using these very woke tactics, like trying to deplatform people and censor them on their channels. She'll argue against them all day. Oh my God, like, these feminists are crazy, blah, blah. It's like, okay, you can say that as your opinion, of course. But you can't go and do the same thing as them. The people that you're using their tactics, but you're going to criticize them. How is she any different at this point? So she basically will cry bully, just like a feminist does. She promotes promiscuity. She plays victim, is essentially saying, I'm oppressed, even though she's clearly not. But she's single and scared, even though she's like from a multi-million-dollar family. But oh my God, she's fearing for her life because somebody came to pick up their charger. And she's also very one-sided and purposely misrepresents statistics even after she's corrected. And it's always one-sided, and it's always blaming women and talking about how women are never held accountable. But then men are never held accountable on her channel, ever. Even in the direct one-to-one situation, as I showed in the first video. So she literally is a crybaby, cry-bully feminist using their tactics. But we're supposed to just ignore that. We're supposed to ignore her deplatforming people because, oh my God, haha, she said that women shouldn't vote. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why we're just gonna sweep that under the rug and pretend, oh no, it's just like the crazy woke feminists are triggered by her. No, she's morally a bad person for doing these things, and the effect that her podcast has on relationships. It's causing people to fucking hate each other and dehumanize each other. Her entire podcast is just like Fresh and Fit, where it's just humiliation porn. There's no actual intellectual dialogue. It's just modern day Jerry Springer. But she won't address those criticisms. She won't address any of these valid criticisms that people say, like, hey, you're deplatforming people. You're literally censoring people. And yet you're going to make your whole channel about dunking on feminists. But she won't address that, right? During $10 super chat, Pearl doesn't stand a chance against your hammerhead shark attack tactics. Yeah, hammerhead shark attack tactics versus the gorilla stance, I guess. Who will win? Dan Holland, £5 super chat. Can you take Pearl back, please? We've had enough dumb bitches in the UK. She's coming back, apparently. That's what she said on the whatever podcast, is that she's moving back. So, I guess it's your lucky day. Lucan, $250 Canadian dollars super chat. My UK friend says London is dirtier and stinkier than New York City. I don't know how that's possible. You would literally have to be like, I don't know, a third world country for that to be the case. Honestly, a lot of third world countries are probably cleaner than New York. Just being completely honest. Lepardi, $5 super chat. We all love a good old shouting match. Glorious. I'll go on Pearl's channel for that, and you'll get some Jerry Springer. But Jerry Springer was more honest about what it was. It wasn't trying to pretend like it's philosophical and it's going to help people's relationships. Dan Holland, £5. Also keep James Corden. I know he's from here, but we don't want him back. We need to do, you know how Dave Chappelle did the race draft? I need to host a race draft, to be honest. Like, we need to re-roll some of these people that are in various countries and races. Like, some people aren't where they're supposed to be right now. They need to be redrafted, okay? If you guys remember, it was really funny. It was one of the funniest skits of all time. The race draft, like, you draft Mariah Carey as white, even though she's mixed race, and, like, Tiger Woods is white, even though he's, like, obviously half Asian. Because, like, something they did. You guys should go watch that skit if you never saw it before. It's called The Race Draft, Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you could get away with it now, though, on YouTube. He, like, did whiteface in the skit. Celine, $4.99 super chat. I cringe when I hear Pearl and her minions say high-value men are gonna cheat. I don't care how much a guy makes, I still expect him to be loyal. Yeah, it's telling how it's just a projection. It's how they value things. They're clearly greedy. They value money over everything else. Why else would you constantly misrepresent statistics in bad faith over and over? Why else? Because you want money. You're money hungry. That's a projection. You think that other people are like you in that way. You want those people that are like you. Immortal quote, $4.99 super chat. Congrats on playing the same amount of live viewers as Pearl despite her having 8 times subs. Wait, how many people are watching? Am I going to regret seeing this? What is it? Oh, 2.3K. I didn't realize. Thanks. Grassroots Hedgeman, $10 super chat. Do you think you and Dusty could rebuild a bridge over beating up on gross old views of red pillars? It seems like everyone is like doing a truce right now. For everyone sees how dumb this is, especially after that clip went viral, which I'll pull up in a second. Monolithic Ethos, $4.99 super chat. The manosphere encourages male narcissism and female codependency. Yeah, and it's in a bad way, and it's going to take a while to like thoroughly explain my thoughts on this, but basically it's setting you up to be abused. It's not that cooking and cleaning in and of itself is bad. It's not that. It's how that they're setting it up. It sets it up in a way to where you're a prime victim for a predator. You are a prime victim for someone who wants to control you, right? Because there could be guys that are good people and genuinely, and there are good guys that genuinely want a housewife and they're not trying to control and abuse someone. But who else would overlap with that, right? Someone who would have that sort of like, who would have like a fetishized version of it, right? When you turn something into something dirtier, right? You take something that's like normal, like for example, sex versus porn. Sex is in and of itself isn't bad, but then they take it and they defile it and turn it into something perverse, right? So they take the concept of a wife and husband and a wife cooking, cleaning, being a house, the care of the home, right? And they take that and they turn it into something perverse, which is like, I'm going to be abusive. I'm going to have control. There's only going to be one car, okay? I'm going to make sure that I control all the money, and you're not allowed to even have a side hustle. And it's setting women up to go to guys like that unknowingly. And that's why it's really unhealthy, because people like Pearl and Fresh and Fit aren't teaching people the red flags to look after. And how could they? Clearly Pearl has no experience. She really has no dating experience. How is she going to tell you what red flags to look out for? She herself has already picked poorly, so to speak, according to her own standards. Okay, she got catfished by an obese baby daddy. Okay, those were not her standards. She said she would never date someone with kids. She doesn't like it after the fact. Okay, so she already shown that of her dating experience, she doesn't even have a good frame of reference. Like, she doesn't even have a good experience, a good long-term experience to defer to, right? So she doesn't know what the red flags are. She can't tell you what a red flag is. Okay, she has no discernment for that. She has no life experience in that. And then you look at Fresh and Fit, and it's kind of the same thing where they're going and giving advice. They're having these panels. They're getting the lowest common denominator on their panels to have humiliation porn, which is, what is that? It's just, how's it helping men? It's just like something unhealthy for you to consume and get addicted to. It's literally humiliation porn, right? It's not productive. It's Jerry Springer, but worse, because they're lying about what's on the wrapper, the nutritional facts on the wrapper, when really it's trash. So you have Myron, which, by the way, I found out that's like not even his real name. He has like an Arabic name or something, and probably has something to do with because he was a Fed. But anyway, you know, he was on a sugar baby website, as we saw in the video. So how is it that someone that's on a sugar daddy website, who, by the way, is like, oh no, I totally don't use that to be a sugar daddy. I just use it for like the show or something. Nobody believes you. Like, stop lying. It's like, if he were on any other, there's so many sites you could go on. He has to go on the sugar daddy website? Come on. And so he's trying to get these gold diggers, essentially. And then he's going to complain, oh, these women only want me for my money. And then he goes on his podcast and says, oh, well, you need to have sex with 50 women. I believe this is cited in Willie Mack's video. You need to have sex with 50 women to know how to read red flags. It's like, no, you don't. You had to, because you're a fucking idiot for giving that advice. Oh, you need to be promiscuous to know. Okay, imagine if a woman said that. Like, I need to ride the cock carousel to find out. It's like, no, it's like you can have relationships and sometimes they don't work out, but for you to intentionally go into it and getting dick down left and right to find the good one, to find the red flags, that's not the optimal way to do that. It's a way of doing it, I suppose. It could end up okay, but it's not the safe way of doing it. So how are they going to teach about red flags? How are Fresh and Fit going to teach about red flags? And yes, I'm focusing on Myron here for the same reason Willie Mack did. It's because the other guy is just like a background henchman or whatever. So there's like not much to say about him at the moment. But it's like, you don't know the red flags. You're out here selecting gold diggers. You're going on gold digger websites and using it as a dating app. And then you're shocked when they only want you for your money. You're shocked when they act like entitled 304s. These podcasts don't know how to select partners. They don't know how to select spouses, and therefore they are incapable at this time of teaching their viewers on how to properly select their spouses. So what happens when you take the combination of setting someone up to be abused by saying, go for someone who, what would be perfect for a predator that would want control over you, for you to have no way of getting out, for you to endure, okay, as we saw on the Whatever podcast, which we'll get to that in a second, endure. Okay, you are setting people up to go into abusive relationships because you're not telling them how to develop a discernment for who is actually healthy for that sort of dynamic. You're just telling them to go into it. So now you're going to have a bunch of women that are being told to be this way, and they're going to be dumb and listen. A lot of them are going to be too agreeable, and they're going to listen, and they're going to end up in these abusive relationships because they're being gaslit. And then these guys are being gaslit into being told it's okay to be abusive. It's okay to not give a shit about your partner. It's okay to not consider their feelings and fuck around. It's actually not logical, guys. It's actually not logical to not consider emotion whatsoever. We are emotional beings. You have to factor in emotion if you actually want to be logical. Otherwise, you come across as very autistic and it doesn't actually make sense. It's like, if you told them how to actually develop discernment, what red flags to look for, then perhaps they could find traditional men to settle down with that aren't just doing it to control them and abuse them out of their own trauma and fear. Because that's what it looked like to me on the Whatever podcast too. It's like, what type of person would talk about abuse like that? Someone who hasn't dealt with their own abuse, or somebody who is potentially an abuser. We don't know that for a fact for like every single person at that table, but we do know that this is something someone would say if they wanted to be able to get away with it. It means that they think that they're capable of it, and they think that it should be an option, that you should, it's just a little abuse. And I'm gonna open that clip actually. So far, Critical and Abba and Preach made a video on it. I'm gonna pull up Abba and Preach's video on it. But first, let me read the super chats. Marcus Henry, $5 super chat. You should have been on whatever podcast and Pearl was there. How would she fare against a woman who isn't a feminist actually challenging her? She can't. Oh, by the way, no, I'll go into that after I show you guys the clip. You need the context. $5 from Sims. Fresh and the other guy literally dated a known gold digger sometime last year and was called out for being a hypocrite. It's like, how do these people continue to maintain followers? At that point, it's very cult-like. Because they're not acknowledging the criticism. They're not acknowledging it's not healthy for them. And at least if you recognize if it was unhealthy, like Jerry Springer, where it's like, oh yeah, this is just trash TV, then at least you could kind of separate yourself from it and not just be like, yeah, that's how women are. Yeah, I need to be an asshole like that guy. I don't give a shit about my partner's pleasure. Who cares about women orgasming? I'm going to be an inconsiderate bastard. I'm going to be an untrustworthy, inconsiderate bastard by violating trust and cheating and say, oh, but it doesn't count. It's all this one-sided stuff that's literally the same thing that they're talking against. They're speaking out against, which is feminism in terms of super woke feminism. Yvette S. 499 Super Chat. Would you interview Fresh and Fit past girl guests, talk about their experiences on the show? Possibly. It depends. Depends on the time. Carmen Smith Studer, 1999. Amen, Brittany. The law of correspondence is always at work. You don't need 50. One date with someone will tell you if you are not ignorant. You have to know what to look out for. And I'm telling you guys, you don't want to go through the path of having to be abused to find out what the red flags are. Wildcat, $5. What makes me genuinely sad is she has money and the potential to actually do something valid and useful to society, but we just get regurgitated points and lies. It's hard to take her seriously. It's hard to take her seriously for people who actually have discernment. For the people that are just continuously watching her despite all of these tactics she's doing, they're the same as people she criticizes. She's doing immoral things. She's promoting immoral things. She's promoting unsafe things. And it's like, well, those people are taking her seriously. How do you think they're going to turn out? How do you think their relationships are going to turn out? Yo Mama's Papa's $20 super chat. Bartering for coochie deserves a $20 super chat. Had me, Lamau. Fry them all. Thank you. Mike TV, $10 super chat. Great content, Brittany. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mike. Lucan, $2.20 super chat. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I read that one. Okay. Rebecca Coolidge, $4.99 super chat. Unrelated, my sister thinks that I think that Columbo is very bimbo power. Agree or disagree? I don't know. I don't know what Columbo is. What is that? Mitch Jean, $1.99 super chat. She has Me Too'd her high school coach, another black male. She got fired. I don't know the full story of that. I just know her account of it was saying that he, in the first video, he groomed her sister and she didn't, or he tried to groom her and she didn't want him grooming her sister, so she had him removed, and she had the texts and receipts and everything. So I wouldn't just like automatically assume she's lying, but now with the context of how she got this other guy fired, it does make me question, because she is a liar, right? We've caught her in how many lies at this point? Who's Brittany Venti? We caught her so many lies at this point, between statistics, outright lying about, I don't ask women about their body count. There's so many at this point. Do I really need to list them? Like, it's all in the video. So I don't know what to believe with that one. But from what it seems like, she at least got one guy fired because she is a single female, okay? That puts her above everyone else. She's a single female. It's like, it's not even, she tries to do it in a way where it's supposed to make you empathize with her and give perspective, but it actually doesn't. It's just her essentially saying that she's above everyone else and we should cater to her. Media Fanatic, $5 search. I can't wait for Hassan to debate her and all hell breaks loose. Is that actually happening? $2 from S'more. I'm going to tell my grandkids the Olsen twins were Elizabeth Olsen's boobs. That is all. Grassroots Hedgeman, $10 super chat. Do you think... Oh, you read that one. Vash the Stampede, 41, $5 super chat. I just started watching that, the original one. It's very cool looking. I love old anime. Hey, Brittany, you're cute and entertaining, ridiculously on point with fashion and seasonal colors. Never knew there was so much to it. Yeah, my entire closet is in coordination with my color season, which is soft autumn. I'm actually pretty autistic about it. There's basically no black in my wardrobe because it's not one of my colors, even though it's like a very nice basic color. I wish I could pull it off, but it makes me look kind of green and yellowy. Vosh the Stampede. Stop. You're going to get stuck in my head, Sean. Okay. Let's watch this.
If there's someone that's very, very young, might be really religious and like values marriage a lot and goes into a marriage and has kids when they're like 18, 19, 20, and then a year into the relationship, it gets really, really...
From who?
Would you... From both.
This is so rare.
Anyone
So
really.
rare.
I mean, it happens.
Go on,
I'm just,
go on.
My point is, I'm just, yeah, even though it might be rare from what you guys think,
It is. Go on.
if it would happen, what would you recommend for those people to do? Would they divorce, or do you want them to keep going in the relationship?
Keep going.
You can't divorce. I mean, that's not a real thing. You can like separate. See, his Catholic background shines through. He knows. You can't divorce. You can separate, but you can't actually divorce. That's not a.
That sounds very much like... So, you know, I'm going to preface this with saying I appreciate the Catholic sentiment, how romantic it is that you're with someone, you know, forever, eternity. That concept appeals to me, to be with someone for eternity. I certainly hope that there's an afterlife. But the way that it's being presented here is in a very distasteful way. It's in a way where it's like, you can never escape your abuser because Catholicism says so. Like, I just don't think Catholics actually go around, like actual practicing Catholics that go to church go around saying that. Like, yeah, even if he's an abuser, you're gonna have to deal with him in heaven. Like, I just don't think that that's what they're going around saying. It comes across as like, even that comes across as a bit abusive. It's like, you can't escape the person that made you feel like the worst dog shit in the world. Like, that doesn't sound godly to me. That doesn't sound very kind, like a loving God. You're not submitting enough. Hey, Quartering. I don't know. I just have a feeling that this interpretation is probably off in some way in the presentation. I'm giving it a good faith assumption there.
Really? You can separate, but you can't actually divorce. That's not a real thing.
Even though it might be like physically abusive.
You got to endure. People are too.
You want to stick in the relationship.
People are just.
I mean, look,
people
I'm gonna be
nowadays
honest.
are just pussies. Everybody fucking quits.
But if you're looking for me, I'll be in my home space over here.
What? You're not willing to endure this?
Yeah, I'm divorcing this subject.
So, you have to endure. I understand the sentiment that people feel like folks divorce too easily and for the wrong reasons. Okay. I understand. And I can even get behind that sentiment to a degree.
But also, people marry for the wrong reason and too easily. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, beating your wife is a good reason for a divorce.
No, you don't understand. You're spiritually stuck with them until the end of time. That doesn't sound like heaven to me.
Like, you can say, okay, well, I stuck through it and we figured out, and maybe you have. But expecting other people who are getting their ass beat to stay in a marriage where they're getting beaten up is crazy. Endure. People quit too easily nowadays. What? That's your response to somebody who's being physically beaten by their partner? You know, they sit here and they talk about single-parent households this, single-parent households that. Do you think it's good to raise a child
in a violent environment, that's even worse. There's some relationship you talk about it's bad to be single. There's some people that are still together and has been a detriment to kids. Why? Because it was a toxic environment. But whatever.
I'll even say this. I think it's far worse to grow
it's the lack of nuance.
up in an environment where your
When it's
dad beats your
necessary.
mom on a regular basis, or he beats the kids, or she beats him.
It's not, I don't even know if nuance is the right word. It's kind of common sense. You would have thought up until this point.
Whatever it might be, that's way worse than growing up in a single parent household. I wouldn't even consider the two in the same ballpark. You have to understand, okay? I hate bringing this up because people make it a bigger deal than this, but then you have these retards who get on podcasts and proudly say, you should endure, you should endure. You do realize that most of the people who die in relationships as a result of spousal violence are women.
Yeah, and that's what I tweeted about when I saw that clip. I was like, do they not realize that you can literally die from an abusive relationship? But no, it doesn't matter because you're still stuck with them in heaven. Like, you can't escape me. But yeah, you can literally die from it, and also your children can die too. There's been cases. What about that one infamous case where the guy killed his pregnant wife and kid? You know, it can result in that. It's not like, oh, that's never happened. It definitely can happen and does happen, has happened at least multiple times in everyone's life that's here. There have been cases around the world. It's like, you want to subject your kid to that danger? It's lack of empathy to say that.
Right? So how do you expect any of your movements to be taken seriously and to not be seen as anti-women when your advice to women who are being beaten up by their partners is to endure?
Everybody fucking quits. Everybody gives up. It's too hard. I'm this XYZ. This is why I'm special, so I can fuck up this entire situation.
Or maybe the person who fucked up and gave up is the person who beat their partner. Is that not a possibility? To me personally, the person who decides to lay their hands on the person they're supposed to protect to their dying breath is probably the deadbeat loser who gave up on the relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
But
sorry, I just wanted
maybe
to
that's a hot
for a sec.
Like, where everybody's just creating this like super nuanced, like 1% example of like, well, what if the kids fuck?
Super nuanced. Well, like, do you think
if
do you
the
think
relationship
spousal?
is
Do you think spousal?
What?
Wait, do you think spousal is like a 1% thing?
Yo, puis là, il va deep dans une autre.
I'm actually curious. Minimum on where?
It's not that rare. You talk about, she went, if the relationship is abusive, what do?
Nearly 20% of marriages and intimate partnerships will experience physical violence, according to the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy.
Yeah, and even if that statistic isn't correct, it's definitely way more than 1%, for sure. Hold on. Let me skip to here.
No, but I'm
Minute
asking for
situation.
anyone that might be in that situation, what would you recommend?
Okay,
Do you think
endure.
that-
I'll tell
would
you
they
what.
give
I'll
up
tell
divorce?
you what.
Endure.
I don't
Endure.
Just repeats the word. That's crazy.
So, doctor, so I have to explain my endure.
It sounds like some sort of like medication. That's why he says prescribe, I guess.
But
I'm gonna be showing up on their doorstep and teaching him some lessons.
Exactly.
That's what I would do. I also would
but,
not, if I didn't have the capacity to do that for some reason, I don't know, I wouldn't want my daughter in that situation, quite frankly. And I understand the argument to endure because I have people close to me who grew up in abusive households, and it lasted for periods of time, and it was a phase, and they endured through it, and they ended up raising healthy, successful families.
What about if two people...
Yeah, I don't think anybody in their right mind would ever tell someone to endure abuse. Like, it's kind of over. Once your significant other starts abusing you and it's officially crossed that threshold, it's over. They've ended the relationship for you. There's no enduring it. No, has anybody ever been to a therapist and told them they were being abused, and the therapist gets to explain to you like what the abuse is, and they're like, yeah, that is abuse. Has any sort of psychiatrist or therapist or doctor ever advised them to stay in a situation like that? Because I've been to therapy and I don't ever recall that being a recommendation. Oh yeah, just deal with it. Just stay with the person. Like, especially if you have a way of getting out and a way of not staying with them and you're not trapped. nobody that actually cares about you would ever tell you to endure that unless they were mentally ill and had severe issues.
We'll get married, have a kid, and then the wife starts cheating. Do you think they should divorce?
Absolutely.
They should divorce then?
Jesus himself
You
said.
know,
but you will.
Interesting.
They should divorce then?
Jesus himself said.
But it wasn't
hold on.
illegal.
Jesus
And you
himself
could like
said.
work things through, right?
Jesus himself.
Interesting. Like, you saw everyone's body language change with that one. They're like John's over here, like everyone's like, like ready to explode. Like, the woman cheated. Where was that with the abuse? It's like, it's not the same energy, but yeah, you can die from one. You can die from somebody abusing you. I mean, you could, I guess, hypothetically die from someone cheating on you if they gave you STD, but point still stands. One is clearly more dangerous than the other. And it's like, oh my God, cheating? It's like they personally are imagining, like, okay, so that's kind of the difference. It's like the empathy, right? There's no empathy when it came to the abuse, because they're probably imagining in their minds, like, oh, like a woman probably wouldn't abuse me. I would probably be the one doing it. That's probably what they're imagining, and that's probably why they're not so quick to empathize. Like, oh my God, I would never tell someone saying that with abuse. But with cheating, instantly, they suddenly understood the concept of empathy in 0.1 second when it came to themselves. And they're like, me getting cheated on? You know, chimp out imminent. Oh, I have a lot of super chats. Hold on. Oh, also, people saying that it's out of context. Like, if you watch Critical's video on it, he gives a lot of the clip. People need to stop saying out of context when it's actually not out of context. I noticed this is another one of those popular fallacies nowadays. It's a trendy fallacy, just like you're just jealous or you're obsessed. Another popular fallacy is out of context. And it's like, it's not that the situations don't exist for those things. They do. There are situations where someone is just obsessed or is just jealous or is taking someone out of context. But people seem to not understand anymore what out of context actually means. Out of context means that if you were to put the context there, it would change it. It would change it in a way that is completely different than what's being presented, or enough to a degree where it would change a lot of people's minds. And that's just not really the case with this clip. Unless the following words were said after what they said, there's basically no context that could ever make them saying endure abuse. Oh, but cheating? Like, obviously cheating's bad, but the fact that they had the instant response, suddenly understood empathy then when it had to do with themselves, when it had to do with abuse, when it's another person, they oh, I guess it depends, endure, I don't know. It's like, out of context would be if they said, just kidding, at the end of the sentence, and then you like clip that out. That would pretty much at this point be the only out of context thing you could do. Or like, if they started the example with, in a backwards world, but both those examples I'm pretty sure didn't happen here. And people need to understand that with content creation, we can't just sit here and play an entire 2-hour stream to let you guys watch the entire thing. That's called copyright infringement. If it's not at least interrupted periodically to give commentary, that is. But like, nobody is going to sit here for 2 hours to give you guys every single thing they said just so that you guys can say, oh, now it's in context. It's like, because nobody's going to watch that. It's too long. It's wasting everyone's time. There's nothing wrong with taking the highlights of something and putting it in there. It's only an immoral thing to do if you're leaving something out that actually changes what they said. But again, nothing would change what everyone's saying here except for the terms just joking or in a backwards world, which neither were said. So what is this out of context shit that everyone keeps saying? And it's really tiring to see it because I see people say it to multiple channels too. Like, even the ones that are in good faith, it's like out of context anytime. Like, even with my first Pearl video, I remember people saying, out of context, like, what do you want me to do? Play the entire TikTok? Play the entire YouTube video? Like, that's not how that works. You can't do that. Nor would anyone want to sit through that. There's nothing wrong with just taking the highlights of something and putting it there. No amount of context would have made this better.
Self said in cases of adultery, divorce is
So you think that
permissible.
divorce is worse than physical abuse?
Yeah, she got him there. She got him there.
All this time, they're Catholics, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well. Some of them are
Who
Catholic.
knew that it'd be Destiny's wife to highlight all of this? Who would have guessed it? In 2023. I want to pull up Critical's video really quick. Thank you for the $50. Fighter fight Darwin's shelf. A man who is so readily dismisses abuse and protecting his personal choices or those of his father. The woman is cheating is a bash to the man's ego. That's why the reactions are different. It's crazy how different they are for those things. Because it doesn't really make sense in terms of what would be the logically correct thing. But, you know, these aren't, those reactions to the abuse, those are not reactions of what would make a good father. Because what men are supposed, right, we're going to talk about like what men are supposed to do. Everyone seems to agree that men are supposed to be protective, right? It's biologically there. They're 4 times stronger than women on average. You know, it's kind of their job to protect us in terms of in a relationship or like your dad or brother or something like that. So how are they being masculine and doing their job? Like, isn't that what this whole thing's about on these podcasts, is like masculinity and femininity and dating? It's like, how are you masculine, but you can't do the number one thing you're supposed to do as a man, which is protect your women that are important to you? Because we are 4 times physically weaker on average. You're supposed to protect us if we're your wife, your mother, sister, aunt, whatever, cousin. So, or like close friend, whatever case it may be. You're not really masculine then. If you're over here cheering on abuse, endure for your own sake because you're scared of someone leaving you because you feel like maybe you would do that. That's the only thing I can come up with why someone would have that reaction and not just an immediate reaction of disgust instead. Especially if you're someone who's been abused and you're watching that. People who have been abused are watching that like. So, yeah, that's not masculine at all. It's very feminine behavior, actually. Like, think about it. Oh my God, she cheated on me. Ooh! And it's like, yeah, cheating is bad. But like, I'm trying to explain to you guys in a theatrical way that it's kind of feminine. I'm not going to be a man. I'm not going to protect. Instead, I'm going to be, whatever. When someone brings up abusing someone who's 4 times weaker than you, okay, I'm not going to do my number one job of protecting. But, oh my God, that slut? She slept around? Ooh, the emotional response, it's just very feminine for people who are supposed to be masculine and promoting masculinity. I want to pull up this video.
This is an embarrassing thing to admit out loud, but I've recently found a great guilty pleasure that I've been consuming like junk food. It's those ridiculously cringe podcasts where a few dudes, pseudo-intellectuals, bring on a bunch of women and have the worst debates of all time. It's a forsaken wasteland where normal thinking goes to die. A thunderdome of delusion. It is brain-melting. It reminds me of those old PS
Look at this
Practical
screenshot
Jokers
here.
here. His name's Jonathan
Oh my
from Practical
God.
Jokers here.
He does look like Sal from Impractical Jokers. Who's also the worst one on the show, by the way.
Worse. I mean, that's not a real thing. You can like separate. See, his Catholic background.
Will ruin a marriage because they think they're so special. You absolute fucking troglodyte. It's not about being special. It's about not getting beat the fuck up in a marriage. There's no excuse for abusing your spouse, whether it's physical or mental. Like, it's the most... There is a right answer to this question. And the answer is yes, the marriage should end if it's abusive. 100%. Whether it's the woman or the man being abused, it should
Very
straight up end.
simple answer, right?
You can't divorce, obviously. This is a wild episode.
And the reality is people just haven't learned to endure. There have been hard times in a relationship. I'm sure you guys had hard times in a relationship. Any relationship has hard times.
God
And
said you must stay in abusive relationships. Oh, okay, I guess. Like, actually, what real Catholics or Christians are saying that?
It is what it is. You need to
I don't
push
think
through.
a real
You
one
need
would
to endure
say
because
that.
we're in this.
Confused.
Hold on, because we're in
Who
this
actually
situation now,
practices
like
what they
where everybody's
preach.
just creating these like super nuanced, like 1% example of like, well, what if the kid's transgender, black, and abused, and he's a Black Lives Matter supporter? Like, cool, okay, I get like that one
No, but I'm
minute
asking for anyone
situation.
that might be in that situation. What would you recommend?
Okay,
Do you think
endure.
so?
I'll tell
Would
you
they
what-
give up
I'll tell you
divorce?
what-
I don't. That's sorry. Okay.
Even
I'm
if
not
it's a
telling
small
you-
extreme thing, I'm just asking you what you think if you just stick in that relationship or not.
It is such an extreme example that I can't give a prescription for what other people should do. There is an element.
God damn it! It's not even an extreme example.
Yeah.
His wife.
Okay. So basically, in response to that, though, it was basically the clip, and in response to that, Pearl had a series of tweets about said topic, and she had quote tweeted the clip in one of them, and then she went off on this entire rant, just like how she did about commentary communities. She did the same thing about this clip. I'm gonna pull it up. Give me a second. By the way, thank you for the super chats, everyone. Alt monarchist $2 super chat. The Orthodox Church allows divorce if abused. Lucan, $2 super chat. By the way, I've never been to New York City. The stink was exaggerated. Yeah, I can tell. Laughing Dog, $50. America got quite the gift when she got Venti. Pearly doesn't know. New York got the gift in particular. Thank you for the $50 from America. It's like so crazy that it's its own entity. BM $35. Love the smell of a good roast. Proof Brittany can cook. Stay awesome, Britt. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. But yeah, I think I'd be willing to go on the whatever podcast just for the sake of countering the dumb shit that happens and how it's affecting people and literally ruining relationships and how people are supposed to be treating each other with basic decency, you know, and maybe just don't smack each other the fuck up. It's like the fact that we even have to say this is wild. Here it is. Okay. So I had to pull up the archives, but there was a lot of tweets. Honestly, I should just search her tweets and just show it to you guys. By the way, Pearl has been on a blocking streak. I wonder if she'll block me next. I've had a lot of people tweeting me about it. Okay. So there's literally like 10 of these. I had to sit here and archive all of them. Because she's a liar. Can't trust her. Can't trust her word. Who knows? She might lie and say, I never tweeted that. Hey, Lila. Thank you for the compliment. I'm wearing the headband, the pearl headband, special occasion. Nellie's $5 super chat. The host, Brian, was actually on Destiny's channel earlier, panicking about being canceled over that clip. I'll have to take a look at that. So Pearl said, there's no point in debating people who won't go into conversations in good faith. Hilarious. She should be a stand-up comedian because that's hilarious coming from her in good faith. Meanwhile, she's out here lying constantly. Need I cite again? See, oh, these are the ones about the reaction channels. Hold on, let me find the abuse ones. I have to like sit here and sift through my files. Here it is. So she says, the issue is they continually, and she's quoting the clip that we just watched, they continually have expanded the definition of abuse to a point where we don't even know what it means anymore. This includes things like coercive control, financial abuse, etc. And it sounds like to me she's trying to muddy the water, to be like, oh, it's okay if it's this type of abuse or that type of abuse. It's actually not that bad. It's like, you're setting yourself up for the worst man imaginable. Like, I would not be surprised if she ended up, but I feel like that's what, it seems like that's what she wants, to be honest. So who am I to stop her? And here's another example of the same time period. I saw a clip of a woman who taunted a guy about his dead son. He hit her. Who abused who? So she's trying to grasp at straws to try to find situations where it's justified to hit women, where it's justified to abuse women. And this is where I say it's actually starting to get dangerous. The things that she's teaching people are getting dangerous. People are going to take this and actually use this in their everyday life, thinking that this is okay because it got validated by Pearl. And I feel really bad for those people who are naive enough to listen to this and actually think it's normal to be abused. I think it takes for some of these people, it's going to take actually going through it to understand what that means and the psychological long-term effects it will have on you. But yeah, she's trying to say like, oh, woman evil, guy hit her, who really bad? And it's like, yeah, we all know the woman is being horrible by taunting someone about their dead son, like very low empathy, inhumane. Nobody would support that, right? But the line that she's drawing here, not only is she trying to muddy the waters to try to find some way to justify hitting women with like this intent to appeal to her simps, but also the fact that she's doing the same thing feminists are doing once again. So not only does she cry bully, even though she bullies others and constantly posts inflammatory tweets, constantly says inflammatory things, call women whales all day. And it's like, fair game. If you want to make a fat joke, whatever. But like, you can't then go and cry about and act and play victim constantly, like she did with the guy that she got fired. Oh, I'm single and afraid. And be one-sided. She's always trying to never hold men accountable, but she's always trying to hold women accountable, but then complains about that. Oh, women are never held accountable. Promiscuity. And then it's like she's now doing the thing that feminists, that woke feminists in particular do, where it's like words are violent. So actually it's okay to punch people if they say a certain combination of words. She is literally doing the exact thing woke people do. She is promoting violent behavior for certain words. Guys, unless maybe if it's like someone threatened you or they said something that will result in endangerment of somebody else's safety, like your kid or something like that, like a threat, that's not free speech, right? That would be illegal. That would be a threat. But she's saying if you insult someone, if you say something that emotionally upsets them, they now have the right to hit you. So where does that end? Does that mean that he can pull a gun out too? Does that mean that women can go around hurting men and shooting them every time they get their feelings hurt? I don't think that's a good idea. Call me crazy, but I somehow, I'm just thinking that this precedent that she's setting is not the best idea. So why would she say this? Why would she be so desperate that she feels the need to say this? I can't imagine that someone who's 26 years old would want to be that desperate, like to the point where you will approve of a guy hitting a woman. It's like, I understand she was being horrible and rude, but unless you're saying a threat to me, or I feel like maybe that you are going to hit me, that sort of thing, that I feel like you're going to hit me first, or you say a threat or something like that, then it's understandable. But if you just say something mean, that doesn't therefore give me permission to hit you. And if I did, everyone would definitely be on my ass. And any woman for that matter. If a woman hit a guy because he said something that hurt her feelings, they would all day be clowning on her, saying, oh, look how emotional she is. She's triggered, da-da-da-da. That would never fly. But it's okay. It's okay because woman bad, so therefore that sets the precedent that it's okay to lay your hands on women. What kind of man is that? Aren't you supposed to be stoic? Aren't you supposed to have control over your emotions? Like, you're 4 times stronger than her. That's like, you're this much bigger than her, and you're actually getting damaged by her words. How fragile could you be? You're supposed to be like a mountain. You're supposed to be stoic. This is what she teaches, right? Masculinity, men's improvement. How is teaching men to hit women who are 4 times weaker than men, supposed to be helping men become more masculine. That's the most feminine shit I ever saw. To be emotionally reactive to a point where you're hitting someone and they haven't threatened you. They haven't acted like they're going to hit you. If a feminist was saying this, you guys would be a woke feminist. Again, have to be very specific. If a woke feminist was saying this, you guys would be losing your minds. Rightfully so. Pearl doesn't get a pass for this. She doesn't get a pass for doing all the same tactics. I don't care how many times you want to chuckle about her saying women shouldn't vote. And it's like, also, if she thinks that women shouldn't vote, like unironically she thinks this now, because that's where she is right now. She thinks that now. Why are you talking? If the men who would agree with you that women should not have the ability to vote, okay, this goes back into her setting up for abusive relationships, okay? What is this? It's setting up for an abusive relationship. What is her thing about not voting? It's trying to set up a situation where someone can take a lot of control and really harm you, and you're being put in harm's way. You're being made powerless. I get it. I get like when people say it as a shit post, because like, yeah, there's a lot of like crazy women out there, but she's dead ass. And there are things that women do need to be able to vote on, especially in regard to like their own issues, right? And there's a lot of them. It's not just about like, oh, abortion, birth control. There's a lot of them. Even medically speaking, there's a lot of things going on with women because like they're not as researched as men, because we biologically have to have a period, so we're harder to study. So there's things like that might need to be voted on. There's things that are actually in your interest as a taxpayer that you might want to vote on. So she's saying women shouldn't vote, and she's 100% serious. Why would the men who are supporting her opinion that actually listen to her? They don't respect your opinion. They think that you're not even human. You don't even deserve the right to vote. So why does she think her opinion matters then? If she thinks women shouldn't vote, her opinion literally shouldn't matter then. She should just be quiet. She's saying they have no legal right. They have no say in anything, right? They really have no say in anything in terms of how the country is ran, in terms of how they have to interact with these government officials and laws that affect them. Okay, then start with yourself. Be quiet then. Because the men that support that aren't going to respect you. They literally don't view you as a human with rights. Human rights. Regardless of her argument of like, oh, but like the draft and blah, blah, blah. That's not the point in that. It's like, just stop projecting it onto everyone else. If you want to be in an abusive relationship, don't make it everyone else's problem. If you want to be in a position where someone has that much power over you, you can't vote, you can't do anything, they have a grip on you, like, and it's not even a choice, okay? That's the difference. In order to have a choice, you need two options, guys. If you take an option away and you only have one choice, it's not a choice. And that's what she's setting people up for. She's setting people up to be abused. And a lot of people are going to end up in these positions just thinking, oh, no, that's just crazy feminism if you counter it. It's like, no, it needs to be a choice. It needs to be that you opted into it, not, oh, just go to the first person, the first decent looking guy that's rich that'll have complete control over you and thinks that you're not even human and you don't deserve basic rights. That's not going to end up well, and it has ended up well for a lot of people, which I'm sure you guys will hear about soon. It's really dangerous stuff, and so many people are actually believing that and listening to that. $3 Canadian from Cjoj. She's trying to subjugate women. Dexterous J, $4.99 super chat. I think I have a plan to make this all stop. I can ask my friend to marry Pearl. I will ask my bro to order her to stop making those stupid videos. That's literally the solution. I'm about to start tweeting YouTubers like, hey, Destiny, would you take one for the team and volunteer to have sex with Pearl so she stops being so desperate for dick? Like, you know, since you're in an open marriage and all, I might as well do something charitable with it. Like, do we have to start asking men to calm her down? Because I feel like nothing is going to work other than a dick down for her. Like, she is dick deprived, and that's why she acts like this. It's not because she's actually formulated these thoughts. As we saw with how she delivers her statistics, she doesn't fact check, she doesn't care. She lies, she's in bad faith. It's like, no, you are literally saying this to appeal to an audience because that's your market, and also you're really desperate. Out here like, haha, please marry me, haha. Like, stop. Desperate for dick. It's sad. Someone please marry Pearl. I'm begging you. Please, someone marry this girl. Although I wouldn't want to subject the guy to her necessarily. Gotta find her an equal match. Who'd be a good match for her? Someone's got to take one for the team, okay? We can't have this go on where people are just walking around acting like fucking psychopaths because one girl is desperate for dick. This is wild. Nobody in chat wants to volunteer? But yeah, I don't think it's a good thing at all. Oh, also, there is something from the Whatever podcast I wanted to pull up. From the episode she was on last night. So, it was at about an hour in. Okay, I found it. So he asked them to go around the table and to rate themselves because, of course, that's what you have to do on these podcasts is like rate yourselves. And eventually gets around to Pearl.
Barely little fupa, then yeah, your number go way down. So Beverly Hills versus the hood, you know, let me know. Okay.
More to love.
And basically most of them say like 7 or 8, and depending on location.
I would rate myself like a 7.
In state too, like in Florida, maybe like a 7.
I don't think there's anything wrong. I think if you take 10 girls, I say 5.
I was gonna say like
Pearl's answer. She says she's a
7 or
5.
8, but I'm gonna go with an 8.
I say 5. I think I'm an average chick.
Girl,
not
pretty. No.
What? That doesn't mean. I don't think there's anything wrong with average.
We're talking about looks alone.
Looks
Yeah,
alone.
just looks.
I mean, I think like there's nothing wrong with being average. I think if you take 10 girls at the table, like half of us probably are average.
Yeah. Most of the girls at the table are presenting better than her, and again, this is all through her own styling choices. She looks like she like kind of brushed her hair in this episode, so that's good. In terms of her dress, it's it's in her color palette. It's looking a little bit better. She's looking a little bit better than usual here. I'll give her that, but she still chooses to not be in the most optimal shape, right? From when we last saw from that recent video. She still chooses to not just go to Sephora and have them teach her how to actually do her makeup. It doesn't look terrible here. But on a day-to-day basis, she's not really taking care of herself much. We've seen her stretch her face like it was elastic. If you guys remember in the live stream I did after I did the first video, she's like literally stretching her skin and like roughly like going like that and like going through her hair, like brushing it with the 400-degree flat iron like it's a brush. And I think those are extensions. Because, like, why else would her hair be, like, so uneven? So that's another thing she could have opted into is, like, just improving her hair, improving her overall presentation. She doesn't have to be a 5 like she's calling herself. She's saying, like, yeah, I think I'm 5, but it's like you're settling for being a 5. And I think the reason that she does it is because she feels as though probably that it's lying to do some sort of basic self-care that every woman does. But the reality of it is, speaking through experience of doing many streams without makeup over the years, speaking through experience, you don't get a fucking award for not wearing makeup. You don't get a special sticker for not wearing it. I'm telling you guys right now, it's actually the opposite. You'll actually get called ugly because you're not doing the same thing everyone else is doing, at least at the bare minimum. Because the standard is to wear makeup when you go outside on some level, some amount of it. And so she thinks that she's doing something that's going to get her rewarded. Like some guys can be like, oh my God, you don't wear makeup. But that's not actually how it's going to work out for her. Oh my God, like you actually like don't even put a brush through your hair. You're just naturally in gorilla stance. Oh my God. No, it's called basic grooming and care. She doesn't have to wear makeup, by the way. She doesn't have to. She could still look decent without wearing it. It's the other stuff too. It's her hair's still flat to her head. She still hasn't fixed that. Her hair is uneven. I'm pretty sure that's extension because, like I said, you can see the short hairs here and then it's longer here. I know layers are a thing, but it looks like it's not blended. So someone fucked her shit up. I don't know who, but she needs a new haircut. And she still hasn't done that. And overall, her presentation can just use work in a lot of different areas. She doesn't have to settle for being a 5, but she's just kind of like, no, 5 is okay. I'll just stay at 5. It's fine, even though I tell women that they have to be attractive to get man, and I want to get married, and I want a husband that doesn't have a child. Like, I don't know. At least invest in some baby powder, you know? Just give your hair a little... Give it a little volume. Just some baby powder. I did it when I straightened my hair. Worked like a charm. Didn't even have to buy dry shampoo. Just bought baby powder. Not have it so flat to my head. Like, why is she teaching women to settle as a 5? She's also, in a way, teaching the men that, like, oh, you know what? Looks maxing isn't a thing. Your girl can't ever look better. She has to look frumpy like me, Pearl. She has to look like she doesn't know what a fucking hairbrush is. It's like, that is not the message you should be sending. Like, and men shouldn't applaud her for that. They shouldn't give her a sticker for not having basic self-care, actually. It should be a negative, because it means her daughters are going to learn the same thing, or lack thereof. Thank you for the $5, Justin. So, Brittany, but I'll simp for the Asian Kaiser any day. This one, the girl in the background, is that what you mean? I saw her at the end of the stream say that she thought Andrew Tate was a real one and she likes Pearl and all this. It's like, she says something along the lines of like, oh, he talks about reality. It's like, what reality does he talk about? He's the furthest from reality that I've seen of content creators that talk about these things. It's like, you think reality is like, I got a Bugatti and smoke cigarettes and I fuck every woman. Like, that's not reality, actually. That's actually not what makes you happy. And it's pretty surface level. It's pretty superficial. Not value your relationships, not actually know how to develop healthy long-term relationships and develop a good environment for children. That's reality. That's the harsh truths people need to hear. No, it's not. Top G. It's not reality, actually. This is delusion. A lot of these podcasts are very delusional, actually. Their delusion is that all women should suck their dick and submit to them because they said so, because they think that they're high value. But then they'll turn to women and be like, you think you're a 10, but then they think they're high value and think it's reality. And there's this delusion, this product that they're selling to people for them to buy, for them to make money off of, to live that life. It's very pyramid schemey, especially in Tate's example, where literally he's selling an affiliate link, which is literally a pyramid scheme, and saying that he's drugging girls to do it and coercing them and using alcohol and flying them in from foreign countries. So I don't really think that's reality for most men, nor do I think that's realistic to say that that's what would bring men fulfillment. It's what would bring them mental illness and other women mental illness. But that's literally all I know about that girl, is that she said that about Tate at the end of the podcast. Immediately I was like, he's far from reality. Quite delusional. $5.50 from Scratchpad. I would marry with a E, Merry. I would marry Pearl over Venti any day. Pearl seems down to earth. Venti seems emotionally unstable, toxic, and thriving on her chat of simps. I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken that Scratchpad, who's super chatted $5, won't date me. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess I'll buy myself a McMuffin with that $5. Or maybe I'll cash them in for 5 singles to wipe away my tears. Oh no, someone that would pick Pearl doesn't want me. Someone who would pick someone who would be a prime victim for abuse. Well, whatever shall I do? It's over, guys. It's over. But I'm so glad that someone volunteered to take one for the team. Thank you. Thank you for your service, Scratchpad. Jeanette Hellis, $1.99 super chat. Here, Pearl, you tried sticker. But she doesn't even try. It's like what I was saying earlier. It's like an obese person cutting out 50 calories. It's like, but you're not really trying, though. You can't even cut out a whole soda out of your day. You're not really trying. John Ryland, $10. Pearl is a straight up grifter. Dismantling her arguments always feels like fighting ghosts because she has no opinions herself. Oh, actually, John, you were just reminding me of something. I have to say, I do apologize for one thing in regard to Pearl. I said in the second video that Pearl is incapable of having an original opinion or thought, and that I felt like she was incapable of doing so. And that was actually wrong. Because, as we saw earlier, she actually is capable of having an original opinion and thought. Okay, so I just wanted to apologize for that. I'm going to show you why. So, she did. She did have an original opinion or thought. And it was that basically you should endure it. Can we really define abuse? Is it, like, maybe you should endure certain kinds of abuse. So, I feel like that was an original opinion or thought. What I said wasn't valid anymore. It wasn't correct anymore. Or isn't correct anymore, sorry. I saw a clip of a woman who taunted a guy about his dead son. He hit her. Who abused who? That was definitely an original thought and tweet from Pearl. So, yeah, I really do apologize for saying she was incapable of having an original thought or opinion. And with that said, can you go back to please just regurgitating what everyone else says? Because this is fucking awful. It went from she's just regurgitating from what Fresh and Fit says, and then it somehow went into her muddying the waters for abuse and enduring abuse in a relationship. Like, can you please just go back to saying what Fresh and Fit say, Pearl? Because this is just awful. This is worse. Like, you tried, you had your own original opinion and thought. We saw what that was like. And we want to go back to before. We want to go back to when you were just regurgitating what Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit say. I think that was a lot better. I'm feeling like this is not the route. Maybe she shouldn't have her own thoughts and opinions after all. I take it back. Dan Holland, £5. I offer myself as tribute. I'll marry Pearl, then date a better woman. I'll still get half her shit and she won't leave me for cheating. Win-win. That's what she's setting herself up for. That's the standard she set. So what kinds of men does she think she's going to attract? But her own life isn't even the problem, even though it's pathetic and sad that she's going to end up in this situation if she finds someone. Because, like, I think, what I think it comes down to? Also, it comes down to her low self-esteem. And it's like, you don't have to have low self-esteem. You can help yourself. You don't have to settle for being what you call a 5, Pearl. You can improve yourself by taking the correct actions. And so she feels like she has to put herself down to this level of, like, I'll let a guy do whatever he wants to me. I'll let him control everything about me. Please just take me please, I just want a husband before I turn 27. And it's like, you don't have to go that low to get a man. Just do the harder thing. Improve yourself then. Go to Sephora and tell them you need help doing makeup. I went to Sephora and I got them to color match my makeup. I never did it before. And it was great. Go to the gym. Go work out. She's supposed to be an athlete, but it doesn't look like it. She doesn't look like she's taking care of herself, as we saw in the first video. Go actually experience dating. Doesn't mean she has to go around having sex, but like actually go experience that aspect of your life instead of turning into what she calls the modern woman, right? She's digging her own grave. And it's like, no, instead of doing the things that are actually going to change her life and be the good thing to teach people, the good moral to teach people, she's teaching them to just lower your standard to the floor. It's like, no, raise yourself up. You don't have to settle for a guy who's going to just cheat on you and treat you like shit and think that you're not even human. But my problem is, though, isn't even that she does that to herself. It's that she's telling everyone else to do it. That she's teaching everyone that this is the good thing to do. Chris 1999 super chat. Found you through Abba and Preach. Britt, you are a effing gem. Your personality reminds me much of me and my cousin. Love your work. Thank you. Jake, $5 super chat. She was so good on Vice Feminism panel. She and Crowder are such disappointments. You know when you have like a really ugly friend and you look really hot next to them? That's what that was. Essentially. It's like, yeah, if you get enough dumb people in the room, you're gonna look pretty smart. So that's why she runs those panels on her show where she cherry picks people from certain demographics and like, for example, for Fresh and Fit, it's like, oh, you're cherry picking girls off of sugar daddy websites. And like with Pearl, she's cherry picking from XYZ demographics. She's trying to get the lowest common denominator she can. So it's to make her look smart. It's the same thing as getting the ugly friend to stand next to you in a photo. Yeah, you're going to look pretty hot. Also, I want to say really quick that in regard to Pearl and her friend, where she was in the video where I showed her friend was outing her as a liar, she basically, okay, I know everyone's going to say it, but you have to understand there actually are cases of this, of where you're just jealous. This is the case of YJJ. I genuinely think Pearl was jealous of her friend because we have the context of her friend talking about that she's always asking about her marriage, right? How do I get one of those? How do I get married? She's staying up at 2 a.m. searching, how do I get a boyfriend? How do I get men to like me? Okay, she's so desperate that she acts like a middle school girl. God forbid we ever see her Google search history. Okay, and she is then going on the internet calling her friend fat. To me, that looks pretty jealous. It looks like you're pretty jealous of what she has and that you don't have it, so you have to cope by saying, at least I'm skinny, but like skinny fat. So like that's just her way of coping, I think. And I think it was very mean. Like, that's your friend of over 2 decades. Like, that's not just like a random person, that's your friend of 2 decades. They grew up with you. I wish I had someone who grew up with me. I wish I had a friend, a childhood friend. That's something you can't get back. That's something to be treasured. And I don't know her friend's part in it, if it was like super political and that played a huge factor into it. It could have. But the fact that Pearl, even in that case, that Pearl goes and just says, no, but she's too fat to have kids, of your friend of over 2 decades, that's messed up. Like, it's clear to me that she was jealous in that situation because the girl she had a nice face, by the way. So how about instead of being jealous, you go work on yourself? But she won't do that because she's too scared to. I don't know what it is, how she got taught that growing up, who taught her that lesson to just lower your standards and accept shit. But I don't think there's any saving her, to be honest. Like, guys, I'm just gonna be straight up. You guys remember when I made videos on Shoe on Head? Because back in the day, her ex at the time, her boyfriend at the time, was kind of humiliating her and treating her really poorly. Even people who were critical of Shu were like, you don't deserve this. Like, actually, like, that's pretty bad. And guess what? She grew from it. She actually had to go through the bad experience for some people, that's what happens. In her case, she grew from it and learned. And even now Shu's the one who's tweeting Pearl like, you are being fucking crazy. You're acting like a nut job who's desperate for dick. That's essentially what Shu is saying. I'm saying it in my own words, of course. But it's like, even Shu, who was in that position, laughed at by the world for being embarrassed by a man who treated her like crap, like the exact man that Pearl wants and is trying to go after, and trying to make herself low enough. Oh my God, please take me, please accept me. Like, just get down on one knee at that point, Pearl, if you're gonna do that. So even someone who is in that position, she was able to figure it out, and now she's even commenting on what Pearl's doing. Shu is commenting on what Pearl's doing and saying, you are acting insane. This is gross. This is cringeworthy. That's bad. That's pretty fucking bad. Like, she should probably take notes from Shu on how to, like, not do what she's doing now in terms of begging for someone to marry her and doing everything possible. Clearly what you're doing isn't working. And even if it does work, you're going to get something that isn't going to be good for you. But you know what? Situations like that, girls who follow Pearl's advice, they're going to end up being these wives that are going to have to be addicted to drugs and constantly trying to mentally escape. And she's going to have to like double down and pretend she's happy and live in a lie, like a lot of women have to do that fell for that, instead of actually learning how to vet men and how to look out for red flags, because they were too busy focused on like, oh, as long as he tells me that I'm not allowed to vote or allowed to have my own car, this will be fine. It's like, no, you need to know how to vet. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love being a passenger princess too, but that doesn't mean that, oh, because a guy wants me to be passenger princess and he's decent looking, he's the one. That's how you get killed. And I really don't want to see an entire generation of women walking off the cliff, or men for that matter, because it affects them too. They're also going to be ruining their lives, especially if they get women like Pearl. Like, imagine you get married to someone like that, and it's like, oh, you're going to go through a divorce now that you had your realization? It's going to be rough. Prefer if people didn't have to find out the hard way why you shouldn't be in abusive relationships, why you shouldn't listen to the advice that they give when they clearly have no sort of discernment of their own. And speaking of which, to comment on Myron, by the way, from Fresh and Fit, I think that the reason, I didn't get to put this in the video, but I think that the reason that Myron is mad and says the things he does is because he doesn't have access to the attractive gold digger women that he actually wants. So he basically can't access the women that require the money necessary to look the way that he would want them to look, to have that sort of like Instagram model look. So I think because of that, he settles for less attractive women who are basically going to let him walk all over them like a doormat, and will tolerate his very animalistic behavior of just sticking his dick in anything that he pleases, and to treat them like crap and not care for their boundaries, not care for their pleasure, like humans that care for one another. I literally think it's because he can't access the attractive gold diggers he wants. Like, maybe he doesn't make enough money, or maybe he's like lacking in another area that they look for. Because like, what are people attracted to? You have various categories. Maybe it's money, maybe it's your personality. Is he lacking in personality? Is it his looks? I mean, there's some girls who are into balding guys. So I don't know. I'm inclined to think it's maybe the personality, and maybe he can't afford them. But he wants them. He wants the women that look like that, but he can't access them. Because I'm sure there's women out there who are cold enough bitches that would take a guy no matter how he is, as long as he's super rich. I mean, look what Shira teaches, right? That's what she teaches women to do. So, as long as he's paying the bills, right? So, how is he still unable to get a woman? If there are women out here, like he says, right? All women care about is like money, and they're all just OnlyFans girls, right? So, what's the deal here? Why is he not married then? Why does he not have consistent, stable sex available to him? Since that's all that matters, and that's the only aspect of the relationship that's a thing. Sex on his end, not for her pleasure, though. So yeah, I think he's lashing out because women that he wants don't want him, because he wants high maintenance gold diggers that are entitled, and it's the same women he preaches against. It's like his way of degrading women. So it's like, oh, you should be a doormat and have no self-respect or boundaries. And it's also because, that's his frame of reference, is like clearly he doesn't know how to have healthy relationships, which is why he's on sugar daddy sites. And it's why both of them teach these horrible things and have horrible people on that teach horrific things. And things that are very delusional and not reality. Guys, who actually walks around reality like how Andrew Tate does? Who walks around with a fucking cigar in their mouth, shirt off, and talking about how, oh, I need 100 bitches to suck my dick. I can't maintain a relationship. That's all that matters. Look at my car. Like, don't watch Star Wars. Nobody does that. It's literally delusional that you think that that's what masculinity is. So, this is not reality. They're teaching people delusion. Talking about the Matrix. This is the Matrix. This is delusional. And not even in the good way, where it's like hopium delusion. It's not even a good way to like make good things happen to you. It's just sad. But I hope that other people start speaking up on it and not just saying, oh, I agree with one or two things. Okay, like those better be damn good one or two things then, for the shit that I'm hearing and seeing from this red pill shit. And by the way, they co-opted red pill. Like, that was not what that meant before. Before it meant base. Now it just means to be a psychotic, selfish, unloyal asshole. Now that's what that means. Who has no self-control but thinks he's masculine. Yeah, be emotional. That's super masculine. Just be emotional and lash out at everyone all the time. Some masculinity podcast. Servant King, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Nice vid, is true. Needs a watchmaker. Patrick Mulligan 220 super chat. Are you going to guest on Destiny's new podcast show? I haven't been asked. I didn't know. But yeah, I think I read the super chats. Oh, $5 from Lalka. Some dollar for your tears. Thank you. Love, more people in chat saying she blocked them. She made a tweet something along the lines of she's going to start blocking people that are saying fake things about her, like fake news, untrue things, something along those lines. Genesis 279, while he was in jail, you said he's a trafficker. He put on his website that he coerces women by using sex, that they would not do it otherwise, and he tricks them, and then he gives them alcohol. He said that part on film. I showed that on stream. That sounds awfully a lot like trafficking, and then flying them in from a foreign country to do so. Like into a small, poor foreign country where they don't speak the language. He literally said, yeah, I convinced the women to do it, and I mislead them and pretend to have sex. It's literally in the archive. You can go see the stream if you want to see it. Like, he describes in detail on his own website how he gets the women to go on camera to sell themselves for him to make money off of. And he uses alcohol too. So, which is like the dumbest thing ever to do. Like, why would you actually admit to that? It's like, I'm not the one who's describing the way he, like, in detail, how he coerced women and used drugs to get them to sell themselves on camera and ruin their lives potentially. I'm not the one who wrote it in detail. He was the one who wrote it on his own website. Lesbian Tell, thank you for being a subscriber for 32 months. Wasn't Pearl doing black dudes though? I wonder what Fuentes fans think about that. They probably don't like it, if I had to guess. But yeah, you know, I think that's like, of all the things to point out, I think people just point that out to meme. She has a lot going on. Regardless if he wins or not, he still wrote that on his website that that's what he did to women and to get them on camera. Imagine that was your daughter, that some guy just like drugged her using alcohol. Alcohol's a drug, that's why I'm saying that. And like coerces her and pretends he's going to be in a relationship with her and then purposely having sex with her with the intention to manipulate her to go on camera and ruin her life. See, a lot of people really only understand empathy when it applies to them. But I found in this Whatever podcast though that from what I did see, it wasn't a very eventful episode. Let's see. It was just like the same old. But let's see. Maybe there's something interesting over
Just sit down, shut the fuck up, and be like, well, where am I actually looking at dating? And my guy now, who's like a blue collar job, he's
I was
not
saying a lineman or rig worker.
Yeah, they're great. We'll treat you, but a lot of people don't want to admit that those guys sometimes are the best people and the best prospects to date. We want the flashy stuff as much as we say we don't. Yes, the hell we do. And we go on social media and say, if you don't have this, if you don't have this kind of money, if you don't fucking drive a Bugatti, you're not worth my time. So a lot of these guys, a lot of these normal guys that we complain aren't around, they're around. We just don't give a shit about them. We don't give them a chance at all.
Metropolitan areas. If you move outside of a major metropolitan area and you live outside of like a medium-sized city, like 45 minutes outside of it, and you participate in life in that town, and you work somewhere where you do not work around the majority of the same gender, that's the biggest problem. I get a lot of people that are like nurses, teachers, social workers. They always talk about how they can't find anybody. They can't find anybody because they work with all women.
All women.
That's
All
the reason.
bitches. Yeah.
Also, the
I
men
love those
in that
types of jobs.
Oh, you know what's interesting? Most people, I won't say most, but a large percentage of people find their spouses from work. So it's actually, if you were to actually be super particular about the exact data about this, if you were working in a job that didn't allow you to meet the opposite gender of what you're looking for, like that demographic, very often it actually significantly hinders your ability to get married. So maybe Pearl should start recruiting those kind of men on her show or something. Hey, Nina.
Yeah, well, women choose those jobs. Women go into those jobs, and then we can't wait to get out of them because you get into them and they suck.
Hold on. There is one thing I want to pull up. I don't feel like looking for it. Basically, there was a part, I think it was in Critical's video. And I'll just find it really quick. It was in Critical's video. I forgot to show this part. I just thought about it. I think it was in this part of the video. I don't remember the exact quote.
I agree with that.
I want to ask like one more scenario, okay?
Please.
What about if
I was giggling so fucking hard because you can hear, I'm pretty sure it's Jonathan go, Jesus. When she says she wants to ask another scenario, why are you even here? I fucking divorce that harlot.
Yeah, here it is.
Unanimously like,
Jesus himself.
What the fuck are you even doing there?
two people get married, have a kid, and then the wife starts cheating? Do you think they should divorce?
Absolutely.
They should divorce then?
Jesus himself said.
But it wasn't
Jesus,
adultery,
Jesus
and you
himself
could like
said,
work things through, right?
Jesus himself said in cases of adultery, divorce is
So you think that
permissible.
divorce is worse than physical abuse?
Why didn't he bring up Jesus for the abuse, by the way?
For the
Or
children?
cheating, sorry. You think that cheating is worse than physical abuse?
For the children, yes.
I actually let out a full belly laugh. So she brings up cheating and unanimously like, yes, obviously you have to divorce when the woman's being a whore.
In the Catholic Church, I know
weird definition.
Yeah. I thought that was funny. There was also one more thing I want to show.
In a
Somewhere
that doesn't
right around here.
Yeah.
And he's a black new because what we're in this situation now, like where everybody's just creating these like super nuanced, like 1% example of like, well, what if the kid's transgender, black, and abused, and he's a Black Lives Matter supporter? Like, cool, okay, I get like that one
No, but I'm
minute
asking for
situation.
anyone that might be in that situation, what would you recommend?
Okay, here's
Endure.
I'll tell you what
Endure.
I would do.
A lot of diarrhea fell out of his mouth on this one here, so there's a lot to break down. He had like an actual episode of psychosis there. He started spitting shit that never even came up. It's a very simple question. It really wasn't nuanced. She just said, in an abusive relationship, should the marriage end? It really doesn't get more as if it's just some little obstacle, little hiccup that every relationship goes through. Brother, abuse is not a hard time in a relationship. That is a fucking crime. That is when a relationship ends. Should
Let's
end.
me tell for
I wouldn't want my
$2
daughter in that
Canadian
situation, quite
dollars.
frankly. I understand the argument to endure because I have people close to me who grew up in
Destiny looks so out of place here on a Dude Bro podcast. You think so? I can't believe that one clip with the woman that was like that big was real. It didn't even look real.
Like a debate, even on the simplest topics. Like you just saw Smash Mouth have that meltdown, like, oh, you're getting into all this crazy 0.1% example nuance of abuse and then all of these other factors, like out of nowhere, when that wasn't even what was discussed. It is the easiest black and white question.
To an extent.
So you would say that to stick in those relationships that might be abusive to everyone involved and a child. If there's
I'm not saying like, hey, stick in a relationship and get the shit beat out of you.
I'm just asking you what you believe.
I'm just telling you.
Even if it's a small extreme thing, I'm just asking you what you think if you just stick in that relationship or not.
It is such an extreme example that I can't give a prescription for what other people should do. There is an element.
God damn it, it's not even an extreme example. If you just Google it for like 50.
Moist said 2-speed is just normal. Yeah, this is how I have to watch YouTube videos, by the way, when I have to research.
There's really no reason to believe in
like that.
Given he got third trimester abortion.
It's
terrible.
Listen, it's terrible. Look how quickly they did it. You know how rare third trimester abortions are? They're also really rare. You immediately have a visceral reaction to that, right? There are households where parents are
Yeah, that was a good point that he made about like the immediate reaction from that, but it took them so long about the abuse.
Like that's not like an unfathomable thing. But if you have like immediate visceral reaction to a type of abortion, it's so incredibly rare. But
I mean, we're talking about like a guy like getting drunk and like beating his wife occasionally versus like.
I just think that was a really good point from Destiny there. Like you have a very quick reaction to another extreme example. Why do you not have that same energy when it comes to abusive households? And then the guy starts making some shit up like, we're talking about a guy getting drunk and maybe putting his hands on his wife. Where is that coming from? The question was so simple. They're making up like a whole fanfic plotline in their head about what was asked when it was really super simple. Abusive household. So hard about it. I don't know what's so hard about them just admitting that.
But okay, so let me ask you guys. In the Catholic Church, I know that there's like annulments for marriages and stuff. Are there
That was a mistake.
Are there no exceptions for like if a guy's beating his wife constantly?
No, there are, but now
a woman could as well, right?
Hold on.
Well, there's also a distinction drawn between.
Hold on, guys.
Oh man, blubbery ass.
And there was one point in this video where I'm trying to look for it. I can't find it. There was one point in this video where they talk about like what would you do if it was your daughter?
Absolutely.
They should divorce them.
Jesus himself said.
And basically it's like I kill him, and it's like, okay, interesting. So if it's your own daughter, then that's the standard, but for everyone else.
Should end.
I wouldn't want my daughter in that situation, quite frankly. And I understand the argument to endure because I.
Here it is, I think. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to timestamp this before the stream. Like I said, my hair is still in the middle of drying when I got here. It's somewhere in the video. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't pre-react to it. Yeah, we took a look at that earlier. Some of it. I didn't even notice it was 2 times speed. Do you guys do that too? Do you guys also watch them 2 times speed? The burps are impressive. Honestly, I'm not really trying when I'm doing them. That's just how they end up. But yeah, basically, the internet is having like, what do you even call this? Like, I wouldn't call this a renaissance. Okay, so what I would call a renaissance was like the early 2000s for the internet. That was like the internet renaissance. This is like the fall of the internet or something. With all of this going on, with how many people are supporting such dumb, unhealthy things. And then prescribing that to other people. Melanie means $4.99 super chat. These men literally surround themselves around these women and notice they never have good, decent women on there. I know. Because it's like, what kind of women would want to go on, though? Right? I'm not saying automatically every woman that goes on there is of low quality. But for random women, if you ask them to go on a show like that, a lot of them aren't going to want to do it. They're going to probably be smart enough to not do it. Because they know that Some of them are probably going to know that it's intended to be humiliation porn. If not by the host, at least by the guests that are on there, depending on which podcast we're talking about. And the women that do want to go on there, they're going to pursue that. They're going to be fame hungry, which is why you have a lot of them ending up being OnlyFans girls. So there is a certain type of woman that's going to really pursue trying to get famous and trying to go on these shows. So it's already kind of skewed in the demographic. Lesbian towel, $550 Canadian. People like Tate are just a reflection of hyper-individualistic society that capitalism promotes. I don't even think that's hyper-individualistic, though, because they're all kind of following this cult. You can't criticize the person. They have their own lingo. They're in a pyramid scheme. It's like a cult. They're all thinking the same, and they all think the same based on the same type of woman they constantly have on the podcast that they see. It's like how they say, oh, well, women only think this of men, that men are shitty and cheat because they're all having sex with the same 20% of guys or whatever, based on this statistic that isn't even valid. Or like literally you look into it and it's like, that's not what that says. But it's really what you're selecting. The women that they're selecting, it's like, how come it only applies to one side when they say so? What about the demographic you're pulling from for these shows? The type of women that want to be famous and want to go on these shows to be famous and to promote their OnlyFans. Like, it's not a mystery. And then in some cases, from what I heard, by the way, in some cases, the women aren't told like what is going on these shows. Like, I don't know this for a fact because I haven't like seen the receipts. It's just what I heard, is that they're not really told what show it is or why they're going on there, and then they just get thrown into this humiliation porn to where they're being used as a way for people to get off on it. So that's why a lot of them aren't really that articulate. And then the other half is like they're drunk. Like the girls on Fresh and Fit, a lot of them are intoxicated. So imagine you're intoxicated and then you don't really know what you're getting yourself into potentially, because you're not very online. Also, by the way, for everyone saying out of context, where was that energy every time there's one of these short videos that, for example, Pearl puts out there or Fresh and Fit put out there of like some like humiliation porn of the girl, right? And sometimes they do just have genuinely stupid people, but again, it's like they're selecting these people on purpose and then trying to say it represents women as a whole. And it's like, nobody was saying out of context then. Where was the out of context then? You can't just say that for one side, guys. That's extremely biased and unfair. Like, oh, it's out of context when I feel like it. It's like, no, if you're going to say someone highlighting what somebody says is out of context just because you like them, you can't go around and expect to be taken seriously and like you're honest, fair person in good faith if you're not going to say the same thing the other way around. Because I'm not seeing that in all of these like, haha, so funny humiliation clips of like asking women their body count to embarrass them for just the sake of embarrassing them because they don't actually care to have a discussion about something. It's more of like, it's not actual intellectual discussion. This is not philosophical. There's nothing philosophical about this. There's nothing philosophical. Like, watch any of these clips. Does that seem philosophical to you? Watch the videos I made. Oh, how many men you fuck? Oh, what do you rate yourself? Oh my god, dumb bitch. Oh, like, that's not philosophical. What about the one girl who was like struggling to define what a talking stage was? What about that? Was that out of context? Does she also get to say that? I bet she doesn't. But everyone will use that to get off, right? So, yeah, out of context when it's convenient, not when it's actually out of context. And it's just something I've noticed. Sasha Lamora, $5 super chat. I never compare any old Pearl to you. You're obviously the superior woman. I don't feel the need to compare myself to Pearl. But thank you for the super chat. I'd be good at crime breakdown. I never tried it. I've never really been into those shows where it's like true crime. I know a lot of women are into it, but I just never really understood it. I don't know. I know that some women watch it as a way to know how to defend themselves, like, and to be safe. Yes, I am wearing a pearl headband. But yeah, basically, in conclusion, we need to find Pearl a husband before the world collapses. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But I just wonder, though, how many, like, how many times does somebody have to copy strike someone and try to censor them before, like, they actually get flack for it anymore? Fresh and Fit did it, Pearl did it, and it's just like, oh, let's debate them on ideas. It's like, how can you even debate them and take their opinions into account when they're just going to try to censor people and that they're anti-free speech? Like, actually, what's the point then? They just want to silence you. What discussion is there to be had at that point? They want to silence you for things that aren't, you're not making threats, you're not slandering, you're not doing illegal speech. Criticizing them apparently is on par with a threat. It should be in their head because it should be censored. So, like, what's even the point in debating these people? Base $5 super chat. Pearl's apology after the Fuentes interview says everything you need to know about her. She's very wishy-washy. Cope, jump on the stream and debate her dumb takes. I have not received in like a call-in invitation or something like that. So, and I had multiple, what is it now? So it's like 2 streams and 2 videos worth of me debunking the ideas and like explaining why it's dumb and why it's in bad faith. Like, actually, it's hard to win against people who are morally going to do bad things because they're not going to play fair. Like, how do I know that Pearl isn't going to copy strike me right now? She's not playing fair. Samuel Martinez, 500 super chat. I've been listening to the stream while working. Will rewatch, but I heard you don't mind going to whatever podcast. That would be great, what you do. Rollo Tomasi. I saw the thing with him being unable to define what an alpha red pill man was. That was pretty funny. Took like 2 days to figure it out. Glasses can create hyperpigmentation on the sides of the nose bridge where they sit. It's better not to have them. It's so random. But it actually is true. I get those all the time when I wear my glasses. Like when I'm not on stream, I wear my glasses. And it happens. I hate it. Yeah, even if you debunk somebody's points that's like that, it's like, well, it's kind of like a cult, and they don't really care. They just care about their biases being confirmed because they're addicted to the humiliation porn. Also, like, where are her comebacks? Where's her criticism back? Where she's not taking any of my strong points. She's not addressing any of my strong points in any of my arguments. Pearl has just said, oh no, she's obsessed, as I said at the beginning of the stream. Oh no, I don't know who she is, but she's obsessed. Like, that's her argument, is essentially name calling. Like, oh, fake news TMZ, like fake news. It's like, that's your argument? Like, you literally just sit here and lie to people constantly and lie about your own life according to your best friend of 20 years or so. And that's the best she has, is like crying victim again. Oh no, don't drag him into this. Don't drag Wanye into this. And we're still going to sit here and pretend that this is fair and she's in good faith. Yeah, right. Next thing will be, she fears for her life, guys. She has to shut me down because she was fearing for her life. I think that'll be it. But anyway, I have to go cook food. As you guys saw, I ate my, I didn't even get to finish it. I barely dented it. I didn't get to eat. So, Pearl's low-hanging fruit. It's not low-hanging fruit when there's so much pushback, potentially. Like, I really had to do my research. And even now, there is some. But I think I presented it well enough to where more people agree, even if they don't personally like me. They see what I'm saying. So it's not as much pushback as it would have been, but like I said, it's very cult-like. So I don't know if I would consider that low-hanging fruit. But anyway, guys, thank you for the donations. Fight or Fight Darwins, thank you for being the king of the chat. Suck his toes. And have a good night, everyone. And give the stream a like, because it helps the algorithm. Bye-bye. And hopefully, it'd be funny to see Evan Preach react to the second video, but they don't have to. But anyway, bye-bye.